Hi, welcome to Tent Talk. This is a show all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager, a farmer, or a food producer selling at farmers markets, or just a curious farmers market shopper, this is the podcast for you. On today's episode of Tent Talk, we talk with Trish Watlington of Two Forks Farm and Farm to Fork San Diego. We'll chat with Trish about the challenges restaurant owners face in buying direct from farmers, how to make that system work better, and how to leverage the power of farm-to-table commitment to increase business for both farmers and restaurateurs. Hey everyone, I'm Bridget Myers. I help manage 3 weekly farmers markets in San Diego and help run Intense Business.
And I'm your other host, Justine Marzoni-Mead, farmers market vendor, hot sauce maker, and event facilitator for the Intense Conference.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager, and founder of Intense Business.
Welcome back to Tent Talk. Today we have Trish Watlington of Two Forks Farm in La Mesa, California, and Farm to Fork San Diego with us in the Tent Talk studio. Trish spent years as the owner of The Red Door, a true farm-to-table restaurant in the Mission Hills neighborhood of San Diego, where she sourced produce and protein from her own small farm and other local growers, ranchers, and fishermen. Currently retired from day-to-day restaurant operations, she's on the other side of the truck now, selling produce to local restaurants from her urban farm. Trish is the founder and director of Farm to Fork San Diego, a membership and event organization that provides consumers with verified information about local restaurants sourcing directly from farmers. All right, welcome, Trish. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Let's start off. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself? Do you come from a restaurant or farming family, or how did you decide to get into those fields?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up in a farming community. I grew up in Maryland, and my closest friend's family owned a 500-acre farm. So I grew up baling hay and chasing cattle and getting the pigs out of the field in the middle of the night when they'd gotten loose in the cornfield. And that was all an integral part of my adolescence, and actually I had a pretty troubled adolescence, and so the whole farm family thing really saved my life. And so I farming and farm families are near and dear to my heart. And then when my husband Tom and I were first married, we bought a house and 32 acres in Maryland. And we homesteaded it. We had sheep, and we had an alfalfa field and an orchard and a barn and a big garden, and that was our little dream place, and we only lived there a year, and then his job transferred him and we had to move.
Had to move to San Diego?
No, moved to Indiana.
Oh, okay. And no farm there?
No, various large pieces of property, but not an actual farm.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to get back to the farm thing ever since. And this little urban farm that I have now is about as close as I can get.
Especially in San Diego. And it's pretty good for San Diego, I say.
We count ourselves very lucky to have as much as we have.
Yeah. So how did the restaurant start then? Was it a restaurant because you loved farming and you wanted to use local goods, or was it a separate interest in the restaurant?
It was a crazy whim. That, my daughter was graduating high school. Our oldest, Justin, was already in the industry. And had been for a long time. Our daughter Sarah was in design school, and my husband Tom decided that it would be a really fun family project. And we had
to own a restaurant?
Yeah.
Oh.
We had a little extra cash, and we ended up meeting someone who we thought would be a great partner. He'd been in the industry for 30 years, and that's how we got started doing it. So Sarah did the design, and Justin the intention was for him to start at the bottom. He'd been a server forever, but he was supposed to learn how to GM a restaurant.
Yeah.
Which he did, which was awesome.
Yeah.
The partner thing didn't work out so well. but
that happens sometimes.
Yeah, as it does.
But the hospitality thing is really sweet. And so, yes, it's unnerving, but we have a lot of really great memories of what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you started, you had the farmland here in San Diego and then started the restaurant, or were you just had your house with the property, or what was the timeline there?
We just had our house with the property,
okay.
And what's now our garden was a giant mustard field.
Oh, okay.
And we'd had the restaurant about 2 years. We had jettisoned the partner. We were having kind of an existential crisis. And we all said, you know what, this whole commodity food thing is not meeting our values. Mm-hmm. we raised our kids on organic food. We grew the food that they ate. This is not right. We don't want to do this anymore. And I just said I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror every day. And so we either do it the way we want to do it, or we need to sell the restaurant and get out of the business. So that's when we decided to invest in turning our mustard field into a big garden and started growing stuff for the restaurant, and then eventually making connections with farmers and moving towards being as much farm to table as we could pull off.
Yeah. So when you started the actual farming, did you go somewhere for education or consulting on how to make that work, or did you just kind of fly by the seat of your pants and use your knowledge and your experience from your former farm days?
In reality, I actually, for the first time in my life, didn't fly by the seat of my pants.
Right. We grow, we learn.
Yes, we do. No, we used urban plantations.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love him.
Karen Contreras to build the garden for us. And then we used them to help us manage it for a while. And then hired an actual manager that worked directly for us, and then eventually moved on to managing it myself, but that took a couple years.
Nice.
So when did you start the Red Door?
2009, right in the middle of the recession.
Oh,
Also
fun
fun.
time.
Yeah.
It's a fun time to dive into an investment.
Sure, the rent was good, let me say.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Okay. There's a silver lining.
And when you started, were you already like in the farmers market scene, or like how did that connect from starting a restaurant to getting involved in the local, food suppliers and whatnot?
It was a long path. Like I said, it became a matter of conscience for us. And so first to start growing our own, and then to start connecting with local farmers, which wasn't as easy to do as I thought it was going to be.
connecting with farmers.
Connecting with farmers.
How did you do that? Just call them up, write them a letter, send a pigeon?
Yes, all of the above. Rolled in on a cow.
Yeah.
Some was actually going to farmers markets and talking to farmers and seeing who could we sell to, and who could we buy from that we could build a relationship with. Part of it was also just reaching out to people that I knew were buying from local farms and asking them, who are you buying from? Some of it was just serendipitous connections. Like we bought produce from the International Rescue Committee for a while.
Oh, nice.
And I don't even remember how I met them, but some volunteer thing, I'm sure. And so that worked out great. That was until they changed the way they set up their whole farming operation. But that was really nice for us to be able to support them. So it was a long, slow process. And it was like we'd add on a farm, and then we'd add on another farm, and then we'd get standing orders with some of our farms. And it just over time built so that we had sort of a library of farmers that we could reach out to when we needed something.
Awesome.
Yes, yeah.
Besides just kind of the challenges of, we all deal with farmers, and sometimes getting a hold of them is hard.
Oh my gosh, that
Getting
was
them
the
on the
hardest part.
phone,
Yeah.
getting them to reply to emails and use technology. Besides just communicating with them and getting them on the line, what are some other challenges that you experienced as a restaurant owner buying direct?
Oh my goodness, so many challenges. And challenges I'm trying so hard not to repeat now that I'm on the other end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
But getting delivery on time. I love our farmers. They're amazing people. But as a farmer, I know sometimes the crop you think that's going to be ready on Wednesday just isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But please let your restaurants know that you're not going to bring that. So that if we're expecting a delivery from you on Wednesday at noon, if you show up at 4, that really doesn't help, because all of the people that do our prep work, they cut, they chop, they peel, they clean, they've all gone home already.
Yeah.
So not helpful. And also if it turns out that there's something that we were expecting and you don't have it, that's fine. We can order it from somewhere else, but we need to know that. And so those were, I think, the two biggest problems we had, was like getting that consistency. Somewhat, to some degree, just developing relationships with farmers like Steely Farms and JR Organics, and them knowing that we were going to want this X product or X 10 products every week, and them being able to count on us allowed us to then be able to count on them too. So it was mutual.
Yeah. That's great that you're then able to use your restaurateur experience as a farmer and really see it from both sides of the table. So in addition to sourcing directly from farmers, you used a really innovative approach to mitigating the cost of a true farm to table operation by starting a community supported restaurant. And I just heard about this right before the podcast. So I'm hoping that you can explain it to me and our listeners about what's involved in a community supported restaurant and how you set that up.
Well, it was kind of a crazy idea, and we were the first restaurant in California to try it. There were some in Virginia, some in Texas, I think a couple in Wisconsin, but we were the first in California. And what it is basically a membership. So you buy a membership up front for a year. Our choices were a year or 3 years. And 3 years was a savings overall. It was much less per year than just buying a yearly membership. And we were at the time remodeling our restaurant, so we needed a little extra influx of cash. And we also needed to keep our name in the news because you do. I mean, if you don't have something to talk about, you know, publicity or die. Right?
Yeah.
So it was a great way to keep our name in the news, and there was a lot written about the idea of the community-supported restaurant. And what we did was we created a program of classes and then one big dinner a year. They were either strictly for our CSR members, or they were free to CSR members. And some of those classes were open to the public, but public had to pay. CSR members got to come for free. So we did things like fermenting classes and jam making classes and Easter egg dyeing classes and those kinds of fun things. We did a couple cocktail tastings, and then we had one big annual dinner a year.
The farmers and fishermen dinner? Was that just, because that wasn't once a year, right? That was really often.
That was quarterly.
Gotcha.
No, we had a dinner that was strictly for our CSR members. No, it was in Bar by Red Door after it was remodeled.
Oh, okay.
And it was strictly a CSR dinner, and that was probably the most innovative meal that we ever put together in the restaurant. And it was fun because it was only for like 60 people. And so, I mean, we had people like tucked in all the little nooks and crannies in Bar, but our chef at the time did some really exciting food and some different things that we've never done before, and using like every little bit of what we had in the garden, whether it was he made like a nasturtium chili as a sauce for one of his dishes. We made dolma out of sunflower leaves instead of out of grape leaves. So yeah, it was a really fun dinner, and we kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit.
Cool. So to understand more deeply, the CSR, because you had these members paying ahead of time, you were then able to kind of use that cash on hand to invest in your business as you were kind of like doing bigger projects, remodeling. Whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you have a hard time? I mean, like 3 years for a restaurant is like, you know, restaurants.
Leap of faith.
Yeah, exactly. 1 year in a restaurant. So how did you kind of sell that to the community? How did you get people to buy in?
That's a really good question. Some of the people that bought in were people that were our regulars and had known us for a long time and really thought that was like, they wanted to be part of the in crowd. They were already kind of part of the in crowd. I mean, we were a neighborhood restaurant enough that it was, you know, it had kind of a Cheers-like quality to it, in that people from the neighborhood came all the time and everybody knew your name and you knew the name of all the servers, and, you know, a chef would come out and talk to people. And so there were people that bought in because they were already regulars and they were already connected emotionally to us. And so they wanted to be part of that. And then there were some people that bought in just because they were really interested in really great food or farm to table experiences, or having these local classes and experiences that we did. Like, we did a farm tour and a brunch once as one of our events, which was really fun, and people got to like tour all the garden and take home a bag of groceries. So people were excited about that, and that was a smaller number of people, but mostly a lot of our CSR members were people that were already our regular guests.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was so much fun, and we were all very bonded. A lot of people from the neighborhood, and then just a lot of people that were at a lot of our events or had come all the time for dinner. And kind of thing.
Yeah, I think those kind of things like a CSA even with farms or like even like a Kickstarter, like when people feel like they are investing in this business that they believe in
Right.
and
Yeah.
they enjoy already, I know I feel that way when I participate in CSAs or anything else. I've helped support like a small business get going. I feel like that's like a little piece of it. And then we talk about it more to other people, so it helps the business. And then when I walk into that business, I feel like I'm a part of the family there. I mean, it's just really such a good relationship to build with your community.
Exactly, all of those things, and and those people did become evangelists for us.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
They had a buy-in. They felt like some sense of ownership.
Yeah, it's similar
Exactly.
to when you do a crowdfunding thing,
Yeah.
you know, so you're raising the money, but really the other thing that you're doing is really collecting hearts and minds, because then all those people that donated want to take their friends and say, hey, I helped start this, or I helped expand this and keep this going, like with the CSR. So yeah, that's really important to kind of make people an official part of your team and your tribe.
Without giving them
Exactly.
decision-making power. Like,
Right.
Like, you can give us our money, but we're not. No. But I think that's a really cool idea. I don't know if you read it, but there was a piece in San Diego Magazine that Troy Johnson wrote recently about the promiscuity of restaurant
I did read it.
goers,
Yeah.
and how, in San Diego's budding culinary scene, there's always a new restaurant popping up, and people are kind of just hopping around trying the new stuff, and then they forget about those restaurants that they really love, and they stop being regulars at their neighborhood spot and just keep
true.
hitting what's hot, what's hip on the scene. So this
shiny
could kind of be
object.
a remedy of that to kind of get people back involved, get them to keep coming into their regular spot because they are invested in it. They've paid a membership. It's kind of like if you pay a gym membership, it's like it makes you go
Right.
more.
Or at least you feel guilty when you don't. go.
Exactly.
I'd rather go to the Red Door and have a nice burger and a glass of wine than go to the gym too. So it's like
So many attractive elements in this plan.
much better.
Well, and people had all sorts of little perks for being members, not only the classes and stuff, but they had like discounts on wine purchases and advance notice of events. So, again, the whole in-crowd special feeling of something that no one else knows kind of thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
Frank Bruni just did an article in the New York Times about what's the very best restaurant in town, the one that knows me, the one I go back to over and over, the one that knows what drink I want right after I sit down, and the one that has a familiar dish that I order every time.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even, it doesn't even have to be like the best food.
Yeah.
It's always a bonus, but I feel like I go to Influx for coffee, like their stuff is great. It's not like people aren't writing articles about it, but it's like, they're like, hey, what's up? And they remember my order and they're like quick. I mean, it's something about that whole familiar feel of a place that really does make a difference. It makes me go there over and over again.
Right.
So-
You think about different places to go, and it's like, oh, I'll go to this. This is easy. I know I can get in and out
Yeah.
fast. I know they'll know me. I know they're going to do it the way I want it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Consistency.
It's the
yeah.
reason I go to Garden Kitchen all the time.
That's right. Yeah.
They know us. They love us. They
It's
know
always going to be good.
it's always going to be good.
Yeah.
And I know Holly's always going to be my server. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that familiar thing
things.
is good.
Yeah.
So we talked about the challenges of farmers selling direct to restaurants. What are the benefits? And I think you've covered it a little bit talking about the CSR the question is, do consumers get excited enough about true farm to table that it makes it worth it for restaurants to spend the extra money to do it? Does it make it worth it for farmers to make the extra effort to deliver to restaurants? Will consumers pay for it? And so do those challenges pay off once you've accomplished how to solve them?
I am not entirely sure that customers are excited enough about local produce to make a difference. But what I do know is that it tastes better and it lasts longer. And so I think even if people don't know that you're buying from local farms, that they will come back because your food will taste better.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. That's good.
And
Good
I've
insight.
had so many chefs tell me, like, I deliver a pound of nasturtiums to Kettner Exchange once a week.
Oh.
And I harvest them the morning of and put them in a container with a lid on it. They go right in the fridge and then they go to Kettner. And Chef Brian has told me, these last us a week. If we store them correctly, they last us until you come back next week with them. And that's because they were just picked this morning.
Right, where when you're buying from a distributor or where they've been warehoused for a while and it's not as fresh and they don't last as long. It's like the difference in buying farmers market produce
Exactly.
instead of buying it from a grocery store. You don't know
coming
how long
in
it's
and
been
out
there.
of a refrigerator.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
being taken off a truck and maybe sitting in the sun for a second as they get delivered in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely true. I always tell the story that you can, if you go to the grocery store and buy one of those pre-bagged lettuces, by day 3 it's already slimy, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
it has that really awful smell. And I mean, I've done this so many times, but specifically, I was doing a big brunch. Actually, for one of our CSR brunches, like in the garden, and I was making this giant salad, and it was when Susie's was still in business, and I came to the farmer's market, and I got a big bag of their, like 4 or 5 pounds of their salad mix that had
That's a lot for
nasturtiums.
salad.
That's a lot for
Yeah.
salad. It was a lot of lettuce and like lettuce and some other greens and nasturtiums. It was beautiful, right? And so I was very ambitious, and I thought I needed more salad than I really did. So needless to say, I had a lot of this left over. But that salad mix sat in my refrigerator, and we ate out of that bag for 2 straight weeks.
Wow.
And at the end of 2 straight weeks, that salad was still fine to eat.
Yeah.
And that's because it had been harvested in the morning. It had been kept cool enough that, it was fine. And then I took it home and put it in the refrigerator, and it hadn't been on a truck for 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's what we always tell people about shopping at the farmers market. People do price comparison between that and kind of dollar store level produce, and it's
Yeah.
like you're not buying the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You're buying something that's going to last much longer. It tastes better, so you don't honestly eat as much of it because you get satisfied more easily when you've got a really full flavored piece of food that's fresh.
No, that's
So, yeah.
absolutely true.
And you're not
Huge difference.
tossing it. If you're tossing
Right.
cheap produce, you're not saving money.
Exactly.
If you're
Right.
throwing it
Going
away.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're reducing your food waste too, which is huge. And that's huge for restaurants. Like throwing stuff out costs you money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if you're going to buy local because it's going to last you longer, and you're probably not going to throw it away because it's not going to spoil.
Right.
I have a question right quick that's kind of related to that about just curious if you think consumers' perception of locally sourced produce is different than like locally sourced meat or fish. I'm thinking of like Catalina offshore products. Like they do a lot of like locally sourced sustainable stuff. And at least for me, if I am going to eat meat, which isn't that often, I like really, really care about where that's from.
I'm real serious about that.
Versus, if I love when I know that, something is coming locally in terms of produce, but did you notice, or do you think that consumers pay more attention to, say, where their fish or their meat is coming from versus produce?
Fruits and veggies, yeah.
I think for a certain segment of the population that it's really important to them. People like you, people like Kat and Bridget and me. And there's a segment of the population for which that's extremely important, both from a sustainability perspective, a humanity perspective. I mean, our meat, it's hard to get local meat in San Diego because for one thing, we don't have grass pastures.
Yeah.
So probably Sonoma, Marin, that area is the closest you can get to consistently get good, humanely raised in California meat.
On a restaurant level.
On a restaurant level.
quantities,
Except
On a restaurant level, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because
Yeah.
we do on an individual level, but it's people that are raising, a farmer that's raising several cows.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
Right.
a herd of cows.
And that's an entirely another issue, and that's an issue that I've been working on. Is San Diego doesn't have a meat processing
Right.
facility,
That's
Yeah.
their huge challenge.
and so if the laws were changed so that small farmers could process 4-legged animals on their farms up to a certain amount a year, like we don't want Swift or whatever to have thousands of cattle and be processing them on the farm, but if small farmers could do that and sell to restaurants and institutions, that would help restaurants who want to sell local meat a lot, and it would also help local farmers be able to
Right.
sell their local meat, a little bit more of it. So,
Yeah.
Sage Mountain, we used to get our we started with Autonomy Farms, and then eventually we moved to Sage Mountain, but we used to get our burger beef from them. So
Oh, yeah.
they were close.
Yeah, and Dale. That's them. And Spur Valley.
Spur
We've got
Valley,
a lot, not cows, but they do.
Rabbits.
We've gotten
Yeah,
lamb, and
rabbit.
we used to get a lot of rabbit from them.
Chicken.
we used to get a lot of rabbit from them in the restaurant too.
Yeah.
We got a lot of protesters too. You had rabbit on the menu.
Oh, people don't like the rabbits. We get market protesters, not for any other kind of meat, but for rabbit, and then they...
Which is so crazy because understanding that people in America have rabbits as pets and we're not used to it, even though every other society in the world eats rabbit on a regular basis. So it's a sentimental thing. But I mean, if you think about it, that's one of the earth-friendliest meats you can eat.
Exactly.
It's a really healthy meat. It's lean. You raise them quickly so you don't use up a whole bunch of water and a whole bunch of land.
Yeah, they're
Rabbits
fast to
don't do
produce.
the methane thing.
Yeah.
So it's a really, really healthy meat to eat.
Yeah.
Good for the planet. But you're right. We get the worst protesters about that. You're eating my daughter's pet rabbit. It's like, no, dude, we're not eating anybody's pet.
And I get the dog thing, like don't eat dog because there are pets, but I feel like rabbits were food before they were pets.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And they're kind of weird pets.
on top of that, they're weird. But now we're going to get
Now we're
podcast protest.
Right.
You can pet a rabbit and you want to talk.
Yeah, rabbits are tricky in America. On the other hand, when you travel, I mean, you see rabbit on every French menu, every German
right.
menu. In the UK, they're all over, so it's funny.
There's someone in San Diego who has rabbit sausage on their menu. I don't remember who, though.
Jeanette Jolie has it on there right now.
Oh.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Well, because they're a French restaurant. they're
French
being
eat
true
rabbits.
to their culture.
And it's delicious.
Yeah. So we've had Jason McLeod has told us, for instance, from Consortium, that he thinks that doing farm to table or going straight to the fisherman actually increases his revenue in terms of it being a marketing boost. He says when the diners are there and they see a fisherman hauling in whole fish, that they're impressed and they say, oh, this is really fresh, I'm going to keep coming back here. But you're saying the other things that increase revenue about buying direct is that it tastes better, whether or not consumers know why your food tastes better, it tastes better, and that you're reducing waste.
Oh, absolutely, both things. And in the long run, so therefore in the long run, it may very well be cheaper.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I was going to say I go to Kettner Exchange, which is a restaurant in Little Italy for people who aren't local. My husband and I go there all the time. It's like one of our favorite places. It's really quick and easy, and we go there for late night date nights. I had no idea they were sourcing anything local, but I just really like their food. So, I mean, it's sometimes it just makes the food taste
they buy
better.
from Trish.
Yeah, and that's me, who I'm very aware of those things, and I guess I just had never really noticed. And so it does work because it tastes so much better. We keep coming back, and that is because they're sourcing locally. So,
and they don't tout that a lot, but they do. They buy from me. They buy from Steely Farms, and there's one other. I know at least one other farm they buy from, and I can't think of their name right now, but I know that.
Interesting.
Chef Brian at Kettner Exchange in San Diego is really
So you now that you're out of the restaurant business, you're still farming, you're selling to restaurants. But the other thing that you do is you founded and you're continuing to grow Farm to Fork San Diego.
I am.
So what were your goals there? Is it to make consumers more aware that restaurants buy from farmers? Is it to make farmers more financially sustainable by encouraging restaurants to buy from them? Is it just kind of all of the above?
All of the
Yes,
above.
yes.
Yeah. So where did that come from?
Well,
Tell us. I mean, maybe we should say first, what is Farm to Fork?
Farm to Fork San Diego is a membership organization and an initiative of local businesses, restaurants, wineries, breweries, and affiliated businesses and nonprofits that support local farms and local food in some way, shape, or form, and local fishermen. Sorry, I always leave that off. Sorry, fishermen, I love you too. And so it got started because we were buying from local farms, and we had a few really good friends in the industry who were also buying from local farms. In San Diego, it would have been, or in San Diego County, it would have been Wrench and Redden at the time, and Garden Kitchen was kind of the start. And we were trying to figure out a way to promote each other and support each other for what we were doing. And so that's how it got started. And we decided that we would all set aside this week during the year to have special menus and promote being locally sourced and maybe give diners a dining discount. And it started with 3 restaurants just like thinking, oh, we're just going to do this and we're going to promote each other. And then people started calling me, hey, we want to do this too. Hey, can we do this? Hey, so another restaurant, Biga, got in, and then Willie Ike's restaurant. Yeah, I'm drawing
I'm drawing a blank too, but yes, he was in Oceanside. He's not there anymore now. Is he at Miller's now?
I know he's at Mission Avenue.
Anyway, he's
Barnesville,
amazing.
I think, so. Anyway, other restaurants got in, and all of a sudden it kind of took on a life of its own. And then like the UT wrote an article, and people were writing articles about it, and lo and behold, we had an organization. So we started having meetings and deciding how we wanted to move forward with this, and we all agreed on a couple things. We wanted to support local fishermen, we wanted to support local farmers, we wanted to support each other. None of us had a big budget, and so we had to do it in the most effective way we could, which was to promote each other's social media, to eat in each other's restaurants, and generally to talk about what we were all doing that we felt was really important for the community. And then from there we expanded to making relationships with local businesses like San Diego markets, and it's kind of developed from there. So,
and you've been really proactive about kind of avoiding the whole farm to fable thing. I mean, Farm to Fork San Diego actually does their own heavy duty verification, right? How do you qualify somebody to be a Farm to Fork member as a restaurant?
As a restaurant, you have to have it's really the bar's set relatively low, and the reason the bar is set relatively low is because this is aspirational. So we want to encourage people to support local farmers in any way that they can on a routine basis. So to qualify to be a member, you only have to have one regular ongoing relationship with a local farmer, and we have to be able to verify that. So
you check with the farmer.
I check with the farmer. I know most of them, and if I don't, then I will get to know them. And we just call them up and say, hey, is this person buying from you on a regular basis? Yes or no?
Have you had people apply and then you checked and they weren't really?
I've had people apply and then we checked and then they sort of backed away. From it.
Yeah. It's funny with us because we have a requirement that our prepared food people and our people that are doing value-added kind of foods and things on the other side of the aisle from the certified farmers, we ask that they use local sourcing for at least one or two of their ingredients, the same way. And it's so often we'll say, so where are you sourcing such and such? And they'll say, oh, I'm getting it from Susie's Farm, which has been out of business for, a year and a half, 2 years. It's like, yeah, I think maybe not. So we always warn people. And just so you know, we know all the farmers, so you really need to tell us the truth about this.
Exactly. And yes, there were several articles, one out of Tampa actually, and then Troy's article in San Diego, written a few years ago about the whole farm to fable phenomenon, about how restaurants who are saying that they're buying from local farmers aren't.
Right.
And so part of why we did this was to give restaurants a place where they can go and tout the fact that they are buying from local farms, and consumers can feel assured that what they see is really what they're getting.
Right. Yeah, it seems like this would be a great national initiative.
I think it would be a great national initiative.
So until it is, and we're counting on you to scale that up, but until then, for folks that aren't in San Diego and don't have Farm to Fork San Diego to rely on, how do you suggest consumers make a call on whether or not somebody who's saying farm to table really is farm to table? What kind of tips are there that you can, tricks and tips that you can use when you look at a menu to see if it really is farm to table?
Well, ask your server. First and foremost, a true farm-to-table restaurant, or one that's really buying locally, part of their buying locally should be to teach their servers where their food is coming from.
Sure. If you're going to go through all that hassle buying from a farmer, shouldn't you be talking about it?
Yeah, exactly. It should be promotional material. So if your server doesn't know where something came from and they can't go ask the kitchen to find out, and the look on their face is, why would I know that? Maybe you're not in a real farm-to-table restaurant.
Right.
Also, just having some personal knowledge of what grows in season where you live. So, and that's usually pretty easy to find out. Like the Cooperative Extension website or the Farm Bureau website in your area can tell you what's seasonal at any given time of the year. And then if you're in Michigan and you're eating fresh green beans, they probably didn't come from a local farm. And I can't say that for certain, but that's a fairly good bet. So eating seasonally and recognizing when you're not eating seasonally. So that
peach Melba thing in January probably maybe not so much.
Steely Farms though has frozen fruit that
that's true.
They freeze from the summer.
Cool. So that's possible.
So it's possible that you might see, but you're still not going to see a fresh necessarily, like a fresh raspberry in January or a fresh
not that's
peach.
Coming from your local farms.
Exactly.
Most likely. Yeah.
So those would be my top 2 suggestions. And then again, build relationships and ask farmers. I mean, if you happen to be the kind of person that goes to farmers markets and you're buying from farmers anyway, it's fair game to ask them, are you selling to any local restaurants?
Oh, that's a good
Those are
idea.
the restaurants you want to support.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great idea.
Cool.
So yet another good reason to make a trip to a farmer's market.
That's right.
Yes.
To find out
I'll
where
do
you
that.
should go for dinner.
Exactly.
Connected.
All right.
Should we do the question of the week?
Let's do a question of the week. That's how we
Right.
usually wrap up here.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk to Trish forever about so many things. I want to hear about that.
Oh,
from
also,
Maryland.
before we do the question of the week, we have to tell all of our listeners that Trish was such a rock star at the Intense Conference.
Yes.
And we could not have done it without her. She came
Absolutely.
in. Oh, that was, we shouted out to her.
We shouted out
on
last
our
episode,
week.
yeah.
She was so
She's
helpful.
here,
She
so we have to.
We're just going to do it every week.
Yeah.
now.
This podcast was brought to you by our
Our
team and
immense
Trish.
thanks for Trish Watlington. Dedicated to.
The Intense Conference was really, really inspiring. It was great to go there. I walked away feeling really rejuvenated and motivated to get some stuff done.
Well, I think the nice thing too was having you as a volunteer that jumped in and helped us get everything done. You also got to sit in some sessions. So
Most of
as a
them.
farmer and restaurateur and somebody that sells to restaurants, I mean, did you find the sessions valuable?
So helpful, absolutely. And getting to know Charlotte was great, and hearing
Yeah.
her perspective on marketing was wonderful. And actually, Anastasia, I'm connecting Anastasia with a friend of mine who has a catering business in New York.
Oh,
Amazing.
perfect.
So,
Okay.
yeah, small world. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, Intense is another one of those places that's a community. It's cheersy. Everybody knows your name. And everybody seems to make connections outside the conference.
Magic
It's cool.
happens.
Yeah.
People bring their babies. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
That was fun.
He was there. That was fun.
It's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was good.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's do our wrap-up question. So it's Trish-related. That's for everyone here. What's the best farm-to-table experience that you've had? And we were going to say lately, but I think we'll just say, what is the best experience you've had? And I know we've all had a lot, especially the four of us sitting here. But we'll start with you, Kat, and we'll go around.
Oh gosh, because mine could go on for a long time.
Oh,
But
boy.
yes, I have a lot of farm-to-table experiences because
Pick
I'm sort
one.
of snippy about eating at non-farm-to-table
Yes,
places.
you
so
are. As
thinking
someone who
about
travels
that.
with Kat,
Yeah.
it's like 90% of our traveling decisions are what restaurants are we going to be closest to, where are we going to eat, what
Which
do they
market
have,
are we going
which
to?
market are we going to?
That's right, for sure.
I make
good.
a great traveling companion with you.
It's good stuff.
Always fun.
So a lot of the farm-to-table experiences that I've had in the last few years seem to be on farms. So we had an amazing meal as a kind of an offshoot of the World Domination Summit in Portland when we went to Side Yard Farm, who does beautiful dinners on their farm.
Yeah.
Locally, we've gone to Cyclops Farm recently. I was at W.D. Dickinson a few nights ago, actually, and had Christina was there from Spur Valley Farm and Andy, and so they were serving rabbit, aforementioned rabbit, and a bunch of stuff that
How
they
dare
had picked
you.
out of the farm field that we were sitting next to.
I
I mean,
love
it
it.
doesn't get more farm to table than that. And then probably one of the peak ones for me had been was going to the Epicurean outside of Bristol in the UK last year. So they were amazing. Again, the very pretty restaurant sitting on the edge of the field where they grow so much of what is on the menu there.
Yeah.
So that was really pretty.
So nice. What about you, Justine? It's a good experience.
So mine is like an ongoing one that is one of my favorite spots here in San Diego, Blind Lady Ale House. They just have like such good pizza and
And they were early in the game of
Yeah.
different farmers.
Very early
Yeah.
in the game.
They did it before it was cool.
yeah, and
Before it's
so
cool.
they
And they're-
also own
and they're
Tiger
real
Tiger.
about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll see the chefs walking the market,
Yeah.
and they do a really good job of putting on the menu where they're getting their stuff, and they change it out really frequently, and
Yeah.
it's just always really delicious. Every time I go there, I'm blown away. So that's like my favorite, just ongoing. I know I can go there and get something really awesome.
Good idea. I always
They're
forget about
Farm to
them.
Fork San Diego members.
Oh, they are.
Yes.
Of course they are.
Of
Tiger
course
Tiger.
they are.
Well, yeah, Tiger, which is a sister restaurant to Blind Lady, the chef used to come to the North Park Market all the time and shop, and I would go to the restaurant, take a picture of their menu, and would say like Kawano Farm strawberries, and I would show Rodney, who's a farmer who works at the market. He would get so excited
Just
and
teary-eyed.
so I mean, he's like a
Yes.
really quiet, like old school farmer,
I
and he
love
was like,
him.
"This is great," and it was like, "Oh, that's what it's about,"
Making the farmers famous. That's
my
a nice
name.
thing.
I know. He's like, "You took a picture." I'm like, "Yeah," and it was good. Food was
Farmers
so
don't get
good.
a lot of fame, you know,
No.
so it's
They
cool
don't.
when you can give them some props.
You're not in farming for the fame and glory, Trish? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, it must be
But
for the
I am-
money.
For the riches.
For the strawberries. Lots of people are.
For all the extra time on your hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Trish? I'm sure you have lots of
I have
places.
lots of really wonderful experiences. One in Austin from a couple of years ago that I can't remember the name of the farm I was on, so that's not going to help anyone at all. And my deepest apologies for that. That was a beautiful experience.
On a farm?
On a farm.
Nice.
So nice.
On a farm that had like a pop-up kitchen set up on the farm permanently.
Nice.
So they did these dinners every weekend.
Great.
Yeah, that was really cool. If I ever think of it, I'll let you guys know. You can talk about it in your next podcast.
That's right. Pop it up on the blog.
All right, we'll post about it if we can figure that out.
But restaurant experience, Zazu Kitchen and Farm in Sebastopol. They're two really dear people, John Stewart and Dusky Estes, and they have this wonderful restaurant and farm. They raise their own pigs.
Oh, wow.
And they're right at the edge of wine country. They have their own. Their pork business is called Black Pig, and they have Black Pig bacon. They have Black Pig wine, and they have Black Pig lip balm. They have all sorts of fun stuff. But delicious pork, but delicious food. And just a shout out if anybody gets to Sebastopol and can get there when they reopen. They got caught in the flood, the Russian River flood a couple months ago, and their restaurant had water like halfway up the walls.
Oh, no.
And so they are currently trying to rebuild their restaurant. So you can, however, go online and buy their Black Pig bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, maybe we'll link to that in our blog. So
And do they have a CSR or any kind of a GoFundMe or anything going?
They do have a GoFundMe
Oh, they do?
going.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll link to that. That's a
post
good
with
idea.
that.
Yeah. So, but they are deeply devoted, and actually, I worked with them on a committee to talk about this new legislation for on-farm meat slaughter, and they are deeply, deeply devoted to their local farmers. They are one, but they are also have deeply ingrained relationships with local farmers up there. So,
Cool.
Awesome. Well, mine is very related to our guest, but I was going to try to think of something else. But honestly, so Trish did a dinner series called Farmers, Fishermen's Friends.
Friends and Fishermen.
Friends and Fishermen. I always would say it wrong. We just call it
everybody always said it
Triple
wrong.
F.
Yeah.
The Triple F dinners, and they were quarterly. And they were at the Red Door restaurant, and you did 8 total? 7?
No, 11.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think I went to 8 or. So they were quarterly, and they were dinners at the restaurant and then also at Trish's farm. And it was really unique in that you would come and it would be a very intimate setting. You'd be seated at a table. They would give you tell you which table you're sitting at, which was awesome because you'd always meet new people. And it would be a coursed meal. And then every time you were served something, the winemaker or the beer brewer or the fisherman or the farmer would come out into the dining room or stand at the end of the table at the farm, and we had dinners there, and they would talk about what you were about to eat.
How cool.
And it was like, this is what I want for every meal that I eat. I want the farmer to show up at my house.
At your house, right?
Like, these are scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
And
Ketchup.
and the chickens were golden.
Yeah. But they would talk about their farm and then talk about, I remember Jeff Alves was there from Terabella Ranch one time, and he's a farmer that's at our farmers markets, and I was just learning so much about what he was saying about the history of his family farm, and then I think he was serving persimmons or something at that dinner or whatever he was providing to the Red Door to use, and it just really made you really connected to the food you were about to eat, and it made the food taste better even though it was already going to taste amazing. And it was just a really special thing, and my husband and I would go. It'd be our date night every quarter, and then my girlfriend, one time my husband was out of town, and my girlfriend was like, oh, I'll go with you. What is it? And we went, and she was like, okay, I'm taking over. Peter can't come anymore. And so her and I would go, and we went to the one at the farm, and one of the dinners there, we got a scavenger hunt at the farm. There's a little cocktail hour before dinner. And
I remember that.
And we would walk around the farm, and it was what grows on a trellis and green? And it was peas, so it was just really fun, and just people making cheese there and serving cocktails with local rosemary in it, and it was just amazing, and that was always the best.
You.
Yeah,
I think it might be time to do another one of those dinners. I don't have to have a restaurant to do another farm.
Definitely not.
Two Forks Farm could host a dinner on the farm.
Yeah.
Two Forks Farm can host a dinner on the farm. I just need to. And it's not like I don't know any chefs either.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
I think
knows
you can get some
chefs.
hands on some chefs.
Obviously, she's got people that owe her volunteer time.
Yes. That's
Perhaps
what
right
you're
in this
doing.
room.
You're accumulating volunteer. Yeah.
Good point. I hadn't thought about that.
The did.
passion.
Right.
Hey, I can wait tables. Thank
Right.
you. I
Did that for
can't. I
many
can't
years.
cook. Everyone knows that.
I bet you can wash dishes.
I can definitely wash dishes.
You're a great server.
You can thank your
you.
mom. For
Pretty good
all of those
bartender,
things.
right?
Yes, I know. I am a good server. Thanks, Mom.
Sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was my favorite. Always will be. And I eat a lot of good farm to table food, but that's it. So,
Great.
all right.
All right.
That was
Well,
great.
if anybody has any other farm to table experiences, maybe you
Yeah.
can send them in to us, and
Give a little
that
shout
way,
out. Yeah.
on Kat's travels, she'll have a bank
Oh,
of places.
absolutely.
Yeah.
to
Tell
go.
us where to go.
That would be
to
so
go.
fun if you guys could post that somewhere, like other people's great farm to table
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah, or
For
you can tag us
sure.
on Instagram, share with us.
Yeah,
Comment
wherever
on our
you
blog.
are, if you go to a farm to table restaurant regularly or you've had a good experience, just tag us Intense Business at the
That's a great idea.
picture.
Really
Yeah,
good
that's
spread the
great.
word.
Yeah, we'll share it.
And if you want to see where to eat in San Diego, you can follow at Farm to Fork SD.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah, anyone who comes to San Diego, just tag along and go to those restaurants because you'll have the best food in San Diego.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, also, an additional thing, we can curate this more, but on the Intense Conference website, we have a list of the Farm to Fork restaurants that Trish helped set up for the Intense Conference attendees.
Right.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that still
If
on
you're
the
in San
website?
Diego. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Our attendees had a blast at those restaurants.
They did.
Maybe too much fun at those restaurants.
Yeah. Monday morning was hard.
Late nights at the Farm to Fork restaurants. This is great. All right, well, thanks so much, Trish. I really enjoyed talking to you. And
Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Yes.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.
All right.
Hey, thanks for listening today. Please leave us a review on iTunes and tell us how you liked today's episode. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next one. And if you want more farmers market tips, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at intensebusiness.com and follow us on Instagram at intensebusiness. Remember, that's INTENTS business. Watch for upcoming Intense events, both live and online, and stay tuned for save the dates coming soon for the 2020 Intense Conference. We'd love to see you there.
This podcast is produced by Intense Business, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Special thanks to our guests, Trish Watlington and San Diego Markets.